Morning. I'd like to call to order the study session for the Costa Mesa Sanitary District for Tuesday, April 14th. Probably the most momentous day in my life. Huh? I'm wedding anniversary today.
Yay, mine too.
Is yours today?
Today, yeah.
I bet I have a few years on you.
8 years.
42 for me.
Congratulations.
I'm not even that old. So if you've got a clerk, if you'd have
41 years old and 42.
Director James Ferryman.
Present.
Assistant Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Here.
Secretary Robert Wooten.
Here.
Vice President Arthur Perry.
Here.
And President Michael Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Public comments. We do have a public comment card from Mr. Mosier on item 3. Sir?
Yeah, thank you, President Schaefer and members of the board. The non-agenda item I wanted to speak to you about was the city's, the district's website, which, as you may or may not know, is currently not accessible to the public. The public trying to see it just sees a blank screen. In an increasingly internet-connected world, there's two issues connected with this. One is somebody waking up this morning wanting to know if the board was meeting, is supposed to have access to the agenda for the meeting over the internet. That had been a suggestion for many years. It's actually been a legal requirement in the Brown Act since January 2012. However, the actual language says that the agenda has to be available on the city's website if the city has a website, and at the moment the district or agency doesn't seem to have a website because it's not working. I'm aware that the Attorney General is currently working on an opinion as to what absences of agendas on the website are excusable. That opinion has not been issued yet, and in view of the small public attendance you have here and the practicality of the situation, I think the current situation is ambiguous enough that we go ahead with the meeting, but it is something that the board should be aware of. The other issue, though, is in an increasingly internet-dependent world, your ratepayers are dependent on the website as the portal to the district's services. And if you had a problem, they may not even have a paper phone book or know how to contact you. They would think they should look on their smartphone and find the website. If it's not working, it's really a problem. So the thought that occurred to me this morning, we at previous meetings heard about the importance of having warning systems at pump stations that inform the district when a pump has failed. I can think of situations over a weekend when the district website is not working and the people in charge of the IT are not aware that it's not working because they're not trying to access it. So I'm wondering if, like those pump alarm systems, there might be some third party that can monitor websites and inform the district in a timely fashion when the public can't access the website. This is not on your agenda, so you can't discuss it, but I think it would be good. You are allowed, without discussion, to clarify things. I think it would be helpful if the board could be clarified what the problem was today, why the website is not working. Okay.
I can answer that.
Sam, go ahead.
I was aware of the district website being down. I've taken that into account. We're working on it. It's a Joomla error. We've had issues with our website hosting, and we were being proactive by transitioning from a different website host to a better one, which is the security is much more updated, and we won't have this problem in the future. So we are working on it. It is down. It was just down for this morning, and I think he has a great idea. I think we should notify our residents through the government outreach if we can give them an alternative website, which we do have through Notice Agenda, to post the agenda and have it accessible.
The one question I had was, and maybe we can get a clarification from Alan on the Brown Act, if for some reason we have technological issues or if we have interruptions like this, Mr. Mosier brings a point up about we shouldn't have the meeting.
Well, it's posted outside. We're legally correct on it. It is posted outside.
Okay, that's all. Jim?
How long is it going to be down, or do you know?
Not for long. It's just a web hosting. She's working on it right now.
Can I ask a question? Elizabeth, at our board meeting this month, will we have an update on where we're at with the new posting?
Oh, of course. It's going to be resolved today.
Okay. I mean, so we can put it on the agenda for an update.
Of course, yeah.
Could I clarify my comment?
One more. Just let him. Bob's first.
Jim Aragonco, but does this affect our pump station alarm system?
No,
No,
no, it does not.
this is completely
This is
different.
just the website.
Yeah.
Mr. Moser, go ahead.
I should have clarified, the public access was not available last night also, so it failed sometime last night, so it's been off the air for many hours. And the reason I was making the other suggestions, which I perhaps did not make clearly, a month ago in Newport Beach, they had a problem with their website, and the city people were not aware that there was a problem website, although the public was, and had no way to contact them because it was broken. So that's why I'm suggesting that somewhere in the world there must be a third party like the pump alarms that would notify Scott or someone when there is a problem, because the public is not going to know how to notify them and the website is not working.
I'll be very honest with you, I noticed that it was down I tried to do some stuff last night,
Okay.
and I attributed it to my own system, so then I didn't bother. I could have called Scott and said, hey, we got an issue, but, so I noticed it last night as well. I appreciate your comment.
So in that case, we can get our contractor who helps me maintain the website to just periodically check it and then notify me that everything's in working order. But I do know that because we're transitioning from a new web host, that these problems are going to occur. But we're being proactive so that this doesn't happen anymore. And so hopefully we'll have a smoother transition with the new web host. Thank you very much, Mr. Moses.
Thank you, Elizabeth, very much. Okay, then we'll move into items of study, and item number 1, recycling and waste diversion report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Javier Chiquillo gives the report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Just standard report. If there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Our historical tonnage analysis. I don't remember seeing that before. Is that a new title?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Last month during our study session meeting, a director asked to look at some of the reasons why our tonnages were projected to go up. So what staff did, we went back to 1999, 1990 year to current. And we looked at some of the trends that were happening, and we did notice a 50% increase since then. And if you use the 1998, 1999 as a baseline, in fiscal year 05-06 and 06-07, the tonnage increased by 25%. But if you compare last year's to current projections, we're only anticipated to increase about 3%. And we indicated some reasons why the increases may be happening. Some may be attributed to more developments in Costa Mesa, more single-family and more multi-family dwellings are being built. Population increased slightly, about 4,000 people. In the year 2000, there was 108,700 residents. Currently, there's approximately 113,100 residents. And in working and speaking with CRNR, we also agree that we believe that economic downturn has increased the number of persons per household, as they've indicated fuller trash cans, more vehicles on the streets. We figure that's another indicator of why some of the tonnages are increasing. Since staff believes that there's going to be more, as the economy recovers and more residential homes continue to develop, especially high-density developments, we believe that tonnage are going to continue to increase slowly, but we don't think they're going to get past the peak of the 05, 06, 06, 07 numbers in quite some time. So it's going to take us maybe 5 years to get back to those numbers. So if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
What I suggest as a goal is we never get back to those numbers. The staff figure out ways for the public to increase their recycling and whatnot. I would not like to see in staff's mind that it's okay to get back to those numbers, without a concerted effort, to teach people how to recycle or whatever. So I'll keep trying to make that as a goal. sometime in the future.
Comment and question.
Sure.
The comment is, I really believe it's remodeling. That there are so many people, economy-wise, that they're staying where they're at, but they need to remodel. And that involves trash, you know.
Okay.
Let's face it. So we've had that for a long time, and we got it back again. Question is the city still working with us as far as when they approve something or before they approve it, that we are saying whether it can hold this amount of whatever? You know, in other words, for the toilets, for the, you know, everything.
We definitely do that for sewer.
We're
With
still-
regard to trash, want to answer that?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We attend the monthly meetings with the city.
Okay.
We review the current plans, proposed plans. They allow us to comment. Any complicated plans, we do forward them to CR&R for them to get confirmation. And we are looking at current plans. There's some older plans that we didn't get a chance to comment on that are posing some challenges. But we're working with those developers.
Planning Commission did a couple of big ones last
Yeah.
night. They approved a couple of big ones last night, so one multi-story, which isn't gonna affect us. The one on Victoria, I think those are single families, weren't they?
Well, they're attached.
Are they attached? So that's one that's gonna come down the pipe. You may have already been aware of it.
Yes.
What happens when it's a state-owned facility? Like whether it be OCC or whether it be, say, Fairview State Hospital? Do we still get to
On the
say
sewer
something?
side, absolutely. On the
Okay.
trash side, we're more along the lines of single-family res and small multi. Javier, when we got to 44,000 tons, maybe it's worth asking Lawrence, were there any operational difficulties at all? I don't recall anything happening that we had so much trash we had a problem. That never occurred.
I know one thing that we've had a problem with is Fairview State Hospital as far as underground.
Right.
And we've kind of sat on it for years and years and years, and nothing's happening now.
Right.
Because we might watch it closely, because if they do move, you know, and something's going to go in there, boy, right there, we've got a problem underground.
Right. They're on notice. We had their developer in this
Yeah.
room,
Okay.
and we have put them on notice in writing.
Okay. Thank you.
But very good point.
I was at the groundwater replenishment meeting last night, and there were representatives from different cities, and they're experiencing the same thing. Like Fullerton, for instance, you know, a car dealership was knocked down, and they built 300 high-rise unit, or not high-rise, but you know, three-story units. And there's a bunch of that going on in La Habra, I mean, all throughout the county.
Go down Beach Boulevard and
Yeah.
Huntington
Oh,
Beach.
yeah.
It's becoming Manhattan almost.
I
Yeah.
know.
Pretty for Dan to live here in Orange County.
Yeah, and so it's not just unique to Costa Mesa. I mean, it's really a county.
But really big ones don't affect our tonnage, so those would be picked up by the commercial and industrial.
That's true.
Like all the
Just,
Yeah.
I have a question for Javier.
Yes, sir.
When you meet with the city, do you guys ever find out the stats from the city tonnage? Are they increasing at the same volume that ours are? Or that would be a question you could ask.
That's a good question. They typically don't share that information, but we can definitely look into it and get that information. It should be public
Do they even
information.
monitor the commercial tonnages? I
I
mean,
think they have.
well,
They've got
they
it.
probably have to, but do they?
no, they have to make a report.
I see a head shaking in the back of the room from Sierra and Earth. Thanks, Lynn. Rob, you had a comment?
We didn't-
Yeah.
Which way the pension?
Oh,
He says yes, they are. Track.
Well, they're obligated to report it.
We have to report our
Included
tonnage
all
to them.
that.
Yeah.
We concluded back in 04-05 that Director Schaefer's statement about remodel was particularly accurate. And even though construction materials are not allowed in the containers, it makes for a good time for education to make sure that the property owners know that they're not to be putting the construction debris in the containers.
I actually, we just remodeled our kitchen. Our contractor was putting stuff in the container and keeping all the cardboard, you know,
Right.
that the cabinets came. Well, the cardboard makes him money. And I told him, I says, that stuff's not going in my trash can. That's all I need. So, and I made him take it out, take it with him. But I think you're absolutely right. I think contractors are putting everything they can in those dumpsters, or in the container. Okay, good report, Javier. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to code enforcement. Mr. Roberts. Or do I go to Mr. Carroll first?
That's fine. They're meeting.
It's early. Ed, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. For this month, for the month of March 2015, there were 7 separate proactive scavenging investigations that I conducted. Wanted to bring something of note to the board. In my narratives, I'll stipulate if the investigation was a consensual encounter or if it was a detention. And I know that's a scary term for people outside of my industry. I have to identify what I have when I'm actually contacting an individual out there. That's why I'll put a lot of detail into my report. Consensual encounter is essentially where I suspect that I have no evidence to solidify or substantiate an incident of scavenging. At that point, I'll just approach the person. They are free to leave at any point. They can tell me to pound sand, and there's not a darn thing I could do to them. So a lot of these are that. I'll sit there on a residential street. I'll watch it for a while, and I won't see any instance of scavenging. However, I see the person walking with what I suspect to be recyclable material, that kind of thing. The other instance is clearly what constitutes a detention. That's where I see someone rummaging through a trash can or a trash cart, removing CMSD recyclable material. And at that point, I'm going to contact them with either the intent to counsel or to issue a citation. At that point, my direction and the way I am as a person, I'm not going to let the situation escalate into a conflict. I'll let them go regardless. But I just wanted to say there's been a proliferation of these scavenging instances concentrated on the west side. The east side is quieted down. I don't see a whole lot. I normally travel my major corridors like Santa Ana, Orange, Albin, those things. Don't see too many. It all seems to be pretty much over here on the west side, Lions Park, right around here by headquarters. In other item notes, getting off the scavenging, going to trash container enforcement, almost doubled the numbers. We're at 43 instances of that I collectively detected, and this is just storage carts left out in public view. So for this month, I think my effort is going to be more concentrated on the storage of carts out in public view. I think I need to go out there and knock on some more doors on my violators and let them know why we're doing what we're doing. Does anyone have any questions?
Maybe a comment on the scavenging report. What I find, even with some of my neighbors, I think the hardest thing is the residents don't really care. They don't care as much as we do about people taking stuff out of the cart, because there's this sympathy factor. Those poor people must need that stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost an we're going to have to re-educate or do something somewhere down, especially as we move more into the organic stuff. Residents need to know that we shouldn't be letting that happen. But I have a neighbor, and I've told her 1,000 times, our trash gets picked up on Thursday. On Wednesday night, she puts all of her newspapers right on the curb. And there's a guy that comes, and I've talked to the guy, I said, what you're doing is not legal. And he sort of begs off, but there's this educational thing we're going to have to go through with the public about, hey, don't do that.
May I make a suggestion, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Another thing, sir, my first assignment in the Detective Bureau was identity theft. That's what I did for a long time. That right there, I think you nailed it. Perhaps in the future when we do our suggestions or public outreach, we could bring the police department on board, maybe just throw in a little blurb about how just have the residents employ a little bit of caution with what they're discarding into the trash bags, because certainly they're going through the recyclable material, but I don't think folks that are indigent are going to discriminate. They're going to go into the other trash cart as well. Yeah. And if there's credit card bill statements, you can start piecing portions of someone's identity, or at least it enables identity theft. So
I think that's a really good suggestion.
Well, as we transition into the organics part, the recyclables will be even more easily accessible. One thing that one thing I'd like to have discussed at a future meeting as far as carts is we were doing pilot programs on trash carts in alleys. And so, I'd like to have an update on where that program is. But I haven't heard anything from staff for a while. So maybe that'd be a future item that we could put on the agenda, just to see what, if anything, or what staff recommends based on what they found or where the program is. Maybe they're active in, I don't know.
Anything else, Ryan? Great, thanks, sir. Good report.
Thank you.
Item 4 is the Organics Ad Hoc Committee. We had our meeting on April something.
Last week.
Last week.
Second Thursday, 12th.
And these meetings on Thursday are killing me.
You can change them.
Hold on. We talked about the CRNR gave us an update, and the AD construction status is the first item on the agenda. They say they will be running as of 9/1 of this year, 9/1 of 15. Talked about the carts, the cart rollout is on schedule for June. And with the items going to a compost facility in Victorville. On the organic buckets, these are the household buckets. We're looking at next month for distribution, and we did talk about some storage issues on where we're going to keep them. And Scott's volunteered his office to store them all in his office. We don't have a problem.
Like 200 bucks.
Yeah. We may actually have to look at renting a storage unit. Right.
For what?
The bucket, the household buckets. There's so many of them.
They're just 200 bucks.
Yeah.
There's no place to be.
No place to. They're pretty full.
It's pretty full. Yeah. We'll see what we can do.
Nice discussion about the CRNR Customer Service Center after we go through this, and Lawrence and Dean let us know that they're looking at hiring additional staff to take care of calls and questions and problems, so that's a good sign. The town hall meetings have been established. I think we've all gotten emails about the ones we're going to attend and stuff like that. Good.
I was looking at Facebook today, not that I do all the time, but in there was some comments from residents of Temecula that CRNR services, and they're going to go to the organics thing as well. But it's going to increase their rate by $2 to $2.50 per household. And Lawrence, I'm assuming that the residents were mistaken when they were saying in there that the methane gas that you convert to fuel for your trucks, they seem to think that they weren't going to benefit from that. In other words, it's my impression that you take that, the savings of that fuel, we get credit for that. Is that right?
No, not credits.
Or offset?
Yeah, there is. It's that is in consideration during the negotiation. It is reflected in our rates, but it won't. It's not going to lower their rates. I'm not going to see a lower in their rates. The benefit, our position of benefit is the environmental benefit. At least for us, that goes towards our mission, protecting the environment and having the natural gas in the vehicles emits less emissions, and it reduces greenhouse gases, and that's one of the reasons why we went for the AD project.
I was under the impression we got more of a financial benefit out of it. I don't know about you guys.
Well,
No.
on the expense side and the cost side, there'd be less cost for CRNR fuel, so there is.
Right, and that
there
was
is a net offset.
and that was reflected in our rates.
When they gave
right.
well, they
included
Yeah,
that figure into
Right,
our,
right.
our.
They gave us a net
Yeah,
cost.
yeah, it's reflected in the rate we negotiated with them.
They have they should address that down at Temecula, because you got a problem down there with the residents thinking they're getting taken advantage of.
CRNR gave us a write-up of the Temecula thing that we can distribute if you want. That's the organics meeting. And their net cost was approximately $2 a month. And that is in the ballpark for what we will charge the residents after we use our reserve. Someday we will have to charge
Yeah, no, I
the
understand
residents
that.
that amount, but it'll be 2020 or 2022 before. Although we may start ramping the rates up depending on what Wendy does with the budget.
Was that our Facebook you saw the comments, or was that?
No.
Yours? Okay.
It was his sister.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how, I didn't even sign up for it, it showed up.
Facebook mysteriously has a way of creeping into your life.
I got a question. Okay, so the rollout begins in June, right? And then how do the people know, as soon as they get their barrels, do they know that they can use that immediately for pickup?
Yes, there'll be a flyer attached to the card. Everyone will have a flyer, how-to flyer, and it'll tell them
As soon as they get it, they can start using it?
Correct, correct. Yeah.
Are we gonna do a press release or something to let people know?
Oh, sure. We've got as we're getting closer to the town hall meetings, we'll probably mail out some little postcards and start advertising about the.
One of the things we talked about was the booth at the fish fry this year,
Yeah.
since it's the week before,
Yeah.
Basically a week
Yeah.
before.
So we're
It's
gonna
gonna be,
enhance
we're gonna have stuff all over the fish fry
Oh,
announcing
good,
it,
okay.
including recyclable bins for stuff at the fish fry.
The other thing I had a question on was, do we have a list of, say, in June, you get,
We have the map, the rollout
Yeah,
map.
Okay.
it's about a 2-month
did.
rollout.
Yeah, it was in the newsletter as well. We've been posting that in the newsletter the last couple of
Calendar.
newsletter. It's the full page in the newsletter.
Yeah.
In fact, you can get a copy of it here.
Well, yeah, but we did talk pretty extensively about using the fish fry as an opportunity to educate the public, but also Earth Day is coming up. Are we involved in Earth Day processes with Vanguard or Orange Coast College or anything like that in historical?
Yes, sir. We're actually participating tomorrow in a Earth Day kind of community outreach with OCC Recycling Center and the Orange Coast College. We're going to actually have a booth there tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. And the district and CRNR has partnered up to, and we're going to be sharing a booth.
This is at Orange Coast,
Yes, sir.
at the recycling facility?
No, in the campus.
Okay.
So we'll be there tomorrow.
Then the next opportunity is the community run. We have a booth at the community run, and by then we should. Well, I would say by tomorrow we should have a cart. Sally's right up on the research processes, our organic delivery cart schedule, and a lot of information and to get people in to talk to us about this organics program. So new organics program on a banner, and the people will come. And if we just sit there, with no notice, they may or may not stop by our booth. They just happen to go by and they may just pick up their stuff and keep on going. But I think this is a huge opportunity for us to take advantage of these educational opportunities, and that's the reason that we justified staff being at these events. So this organic cart delivery schedule, blow it up, have it there, and people will come over and say, "What the hell is this?" And then you'll get to talk to them, and you can talk to them about Sally's programs, and you talk to them about our programs and all kinds of things. But you need ways for them to ask you questions. So I would suggest you to take that thing and have somebody blow it up. They'll say, "What the hell is this?"
That's actually a great idea. Yeah.
Hopefully they will use the same vernacular.
Okay,
But that's what
Javier,
Yes, sir.
when we're talking about the fish fry, you've only have coming to pass on Saturday, Sunday, is that correct?
Correct.
Are you gonna consider Friday also, or not? Just for more awareness? Just a thought, I don't know.
We're more open on Friday, we're gonna serve fish dinners on Friday this year.
So I
I
just
don't know
thought,
what the booth will be.
the booths will be set, ready to go, and we have, it'll be designated already, but last year it was, no one was there on Friday. So I'm just throwing that out to you as a suggestion to consider from the
Okay.
staff point of view.
What are the hours on Friday?
It's like 5 till 5 to 9.
And we can get staff a coupon for $1 off on a fish dinner.
Once we get, well, we
You're
gotta
awful.
hand them out.
You're awful loose with these.
Just a thought, Scott.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I'm not sure what the intent will be, but at least we'll be there.
Sure.
I'll pay for all the.
Because we gotta maximize our use of the generators too.
All right, salary survey.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the last board meeting, the staff gave a report on the comparable agencies that our consultant will be contacting, surveying against for salary surveys and benefits. And I don't think I did a very good job explaining how that methodology worked. So I decided to bring this back to you in the study session and have Denise give you a better job than I did as explaining the methodology. And we also have a conference call from our consultant who's calling from Berkeley who drafted up the methodology. So he will also be available to answer questions. So I'll turn it over to Denise.
Okay. Denise.
Yes. All right, so in a nutshell, I'm going to explain the process and then I'll let Georg take over and fill in the blanks. But basically what COF did and what they do is they go out and look at all the different agencies in the area that relate to our type of business, and there was 28 of them, and then they take all of those agencies and they rank them based on different factors of how they compare to the district. So some of the factors they look at are the distance the agency is from our location, the number of employees they have, the budget they have, the type of services that they provide, and so on. And then they take each of those factors and they rank all of those agencies. And if it's, to get ranked a number 2, then they're obviously closer to a comparison agency for us than somebody that's ranked number 28. So then on each of those factors, they put them all together, and then the top ranking agencies are the agencies that they recommend to be our comparison agencies because they're most like us. And so that's how they came up with the agencies that were presented in the report. And there's 12. And one thing that happens, though, is this is only a mathematical process. So you're not looking at what was your goal of the comp study or what are the needs of the agency. So you might have to do a little bit of tweaking once you have those agencies. And so what we found, the top 12 ranked agencies included an agency that's outside of Orange County. And what we really wanted to do was have Orange County agencies because that's our market. So Castaic Lake was included in one of those top 12. So we just swapped out the next one below, which was Huntington Beach, to put Huntington Beach in the mix. And so they're about the same level of comparison as far as ranking goes. And so that's how we came up with the 12. But I'm going to let Georg speak. Can you hear me, Georg?
Yes, I can. Can you?
We hear
Yes.
you just fine, Georg. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
And maybe you can fill in the blank.
So, I think you explained it very well. It's quite a bit of analysis that goes into making our recommendations. We certainly place a lot of weight on the services provided because the number one goal, of course, in the comp study is to identify as many similar jobs at similar agencies as possible. And so, of course, the services that are provided are important. And then all the other factors sort of fall behind that, but cumulatively, of course, they all together also carry significant weight. And the goal is that we would find a mix of agencies that represent you, the client agency, where some may be larger, some smaller. Not a lot of agencies are not too many agencies are much smaller than Costa Mesa, because you are a smaller agency, but we've got a couple of smaller agencies in the mix as well. And it's not uncommon that we have a mix of cities and special districts. anyone who's looking for a job may consider as they're looking. How far is somebody realistically willing to commute? And so ideally, we would find a sufficient number of agencies within the immediate geography, because that represents the true labor market, that those are the agencies that you're competing with over qualified talent. Those agencies also represent cost of living, which is a big factor in what we look at, whether it's the overall cost of living, the average home price, the average household income. All of those factors are what we consider as well. So in the end, I think we have a solid mix of agencies that fairly represent the market.
Good. One quick clarification for either of you. In looking at the rankings, it'll say the district, and then whenever you have a city, when we looked at the city, we only took the Public Works Department. It had to be a comparable service situation, right? Because you could really skew that by including other parts of a city. So we just took the Public Works part, included it in our study, right?
Yes.
That's exactly right, because otherwise like you said, you would skew the comparison, simply because the city obviously has many other services, and that would, that would skew the budget and number of employee numbers. And so, that's absolutely right. That's why we try to narrow it down to Public Works. Even Public Works often includes additional services, but that's usually the best we can do, just because the type of data that we're looking for, it's not easily broken down in smaller increments. So we feel that Public Works is an appropriate representation of what we're looking for.
You didn't indicate it on the report, but for the city of Costa Mesa, did we only do public? It just says city of Costa Mesa. It doesn't delineate Public Works. Do you know?
Could defer that to Georg.
Do you know, Georg?
I would imagine it would, but you're right, since it's not specifically on the report here, I'd have to go back and double check.
Okay, but I think we probably would want to know that. Just Arlene, you had a question?
Yeah, I just was wondering if we change financially, if they're living in the city proximity, or if they're out of the area, or what they get salary-wise.
As far as employees, I'm not sure I understand.
As far as employees.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is make sure our package of benefits and salaries are competitive with these agencies that we've identified. And so, did I answer your question?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I couldn't find anything in the staff report that indicated that, we give a certain amount for somebody who's.
I don't think they did.
No, you wouldn't pay any different for someone who,
Not on the salary.
if you lived in the city or out of the city, is that what you mean? Would you pay them differently? Yeah, I don't think you would.
We could possibly pay moving expenses for, that's what we've done in the past, but not for salaries.
No, you
I
can't.
probably didn't say it right.
That's
but
okay.
they knew what I meant.
No, I think that's a good question, because I think there are some agencies that do that.
There are.
Right.
Mike,
not to be picky, but I think I brought up at the last meeting an example of a district that was very, very similar to ours, Eastern Orange County Water District. They had the same number of clients, 21,000 or whatever it was, and their budget was almost identical to ours. And I don't know, I don't see it on here, and
Comparison.
Georg, this is Scott. Carol, did we include East Orange County Water District in the survey?
No.
We did not. That's not Eastern Municipal Water District, right? Because that's obviously out.
That's Riverside.
No, it's East Orange County Water. It's located in the city of Orange. Yeah. It's a special district, and it's just for water service. They are considering going into sewers.
Yeah.
But right now it's just water. Do you want to? Maybe we can take a look at that as well, and see if that would skew the list.
Sure, I could take a look at it. You were saying that they're just doing water, though right now they're trying to expand into wastewater.
Yes,
Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I mean, you got other agencies that just does water, like Mesa Water District in the list, and that's all they do is water. So, which is fine, because they maintain pipes like we do. And so, even though it's water, there's still some similarities to wastewaters. So that's not a problem. It's called East Orange County Water District.
Are they the ones
I'm
that...
looking at it right now
They
online
did a
here.
presentation, actually.
Okay, you know, I can certainly look at it. The one thought I would add to this is that while I would agree that you know, a water district such as Mesa Water District is essentially right next to you, and it sounds like East Orange County Water District is probably very close to you as well. You know, I would say that yes, there are some similarities, but I probably wouldn't want too heavy a weight on water district comparisons, you know, because there are plenty of agencies that provide wastewater services. I think Mesa made sense because it was so close in all the factors that we looked at. But you know, I do find that sometimes it's a little tricky to get the employees buy-in when it comes to, you know, hey, my job in wastewater is completely different than the job in water. You know, we do hear that very often. And arguably, you know, you could say, well, there are pipes, there are transferable knowledge, skills, and abilities and training, you know, that somebody could most likely transfer between one or the other. But, you know, I would prefer focusing on wastewater services over water, but I'd be happy to look at these Orange County.
Yeah, just look at that, Ace. That'd be fine. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to echo Jim's comments. You know, I'd say a sixth of our staff travels, you know, 70 miles to get to work here. You know, so you know, I'm not sure I agree with your comments. Mesa is 5 times our size, and you still are able somehow to figure out how to make comparables. I think Jim's agency is much more comparable than Mesa. The only thing Mesa has that we can compare to probably is the general manager and the clerk, and that's an unfair comparison because their budget is 10 times what ours is, and you know, it's not logical to me what you're saying. I understand the lingo you're using, but I don't agree.
Mr.
And
President?
you know, you do bring up a very good point in that when we compare small agencies to large agencies, we typically find that at the rank and file level, you know, that technical level, the maintenance worker, the rank and file administrative types of positions like accountant or accounting technician and administrative assistant and so forth, those we find are very comparable from one agency to the next, regardless of the size. But when it comes to management, we do take that into consideration. So we do make some adjustments or compromises for the sheer size of the organization. For example, you know, since you mentioned the general manager, you could argue that the responsibilities of the general manager are very similar to that of the city manager. You know, in terms of reporting to the governing body and having those CEO type of responsibilities, and yet we do, of course, recognize that a city manager job is a little bit different from a general manager, and so we wouldn't typically make that kind of match or that kind of comparison. So we try to find what are the reasonable comparisons at each agency for management when the size of the agency is very different.
Mr. Mosier, you had a comment. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't anticipate this discussion, so I didn't bring in a card, but I did have a comment. My name is Jim Mosier. I think Director Ferryman's suggestion is an excellent one. It makes great sense to me that should be added to the list. When I look at the cities and the comparison with public works departments, in the city I'm most familiar with, Newport Beach, I don't really see the comparability there. The Public Works Department in Newport Beach is an engineering service. The only thing it's comparable to is what Rob does. The other jobs we have here are in different departments entirely, especially the field positions having to do with overseeing the trash program, maintenance of the sewers and so forth are in a completely different department, which is called Municipal Operations. Formerly it was called General Services and Utilities, and I suspect in other cities, Public Works may not be the thing that's comparable. And of course, the other functions we have, the staff and administrative things, are in different departments. They're not in Public Works. So I just do not see the comparability of looking just at the Public Works Department of Newport Beach. It does not make much sense to me.
Good, thank you. Okay, so where do we go now? Me, Scott, what's the next step?
Well, I'll have Georg will look at the East Orange County Water District and we'll have them look at Newport Beach as well, and use that methodology he was explaining and see where they lie. We can definitely just add them onto the list. We don't want to go more than 12, so we add East Orange County on there. We'll have to bump one of them off. So we'll have to look at that methodology and we'll compare it.
And I know Public Works is the common name, but maybe, and I'm sure Denise and Georg know that department may be called something else. So, and Public Works has always been kind of the generic overlay. So, yeah, okay.
You're right, and we would still, let's say we're looking for a match for the accountant or administrative assistant. They may have those types of positions in Public Works or utilities, but if they don't, we would still look, we would look at other areas in the city to identify matches, because again, whether an administrative assistant is assigned to Public Works or potentially another department, the body of work and the comparability of that work is usually still there to make that particular match.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else, then we'll be hearing back.
Yep.
Georg, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay. The next report, Solid Waste Association of North America. I don't see any beignets on the table. I don't see any beads around your neck. So, did you really go to New Orleans?
I did.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The conference focused on three topics: financial, social, and system challenges. And those three topics led through three interesting questions. Was, well, how do we pay for this as an industry, as North America looking at the trash issue? How do we pay for this? How do we effectively and efficiently run a zero waste program? Well, what does that look like? That means different things to different municipalities. And how do you explain zero waste to managers and to community members? How do you get them excited to partake on this new journey that industry leaders are trying to achieve? In addition, the conference program also focused on extended producer responsibility, EPR, and offered an international perspective from industry leaders, something that Director Un touched on: buying less, using less, reducing, not increasing. And that's also an issue that they're struggling with. And some of the overall messages was, together we can make a difference. Small changes in behaviors can have a huge impact on our planet. The road to zero waste is not a destination, it's not a race, but rather a collective journey to make this planet a better place. Reduce the amount of materials you use, which reduces the amount of waste you create. Reuse materials when possible, recycle when possible, and rethink the materials you use and those that you throw away. So those are kind of the overall messages. And the course are breaking out to zero waste to 8 different courses, including financial challenges for different jurisdictions. They give examples of how difficult that may be, especially for those who are heavily. Right now, the industry is heavy on the landfill side, so a lot of their fees are via tipping fees, and those tipping fees fund HHW programs, fund administrative personnel, and fund other programs. So if you minimize those tipping fees, you're reducing those programs. So how do you offset that? Who's going to fund that? So that becomes a problem. They talked about pay as you throw. Case study from Worcester, Massachusetts, which is some argue that it's a really good program, but then again, what we find out that it's offset by commercial rates, so that won't essentially impact us. So if we had both sewer, if we had both commercial and residential, then that's something we could potentially look at. But that was the secret. It was that they're offset by commercial fees, and there's issues with that as well, because obviously the operation costs more than the rates you're incurring. They talked about the one bin system, Make Smurf, kind of like the system that we have, some of the pros and cons with it. They also had a panel to discuss zero waste and when is it worth it, when do we stop making it a volunteer base and move it into more mandatory. The industry wants to say, hey, we tried volunteering and it hasn't worked. People are not, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, so they need laws to make them recycle and force them to this new way of thinking. Some of the challenges there is from the federal government. There's no federal policy to mandate that, so it's up to the states. And right now, especially in the U.S., it's California. Everyone's looking at California, and out of California, we're actually the leaders of the AD facility, and so everyone's kind of looking at us, and they're looking at similar jurisdictions that are moving the needle towards the zero waste, and that's what it's all about. But it's not definitive. It's kind of moving towards that. When they actually talked about changing the term of zero waste to a zero waste map, they want to put all the jurisdictions on the map and say where do each jurisdiction fit in. So it's almost like a horizon timeline. And how do you get to the next step? Well, one agency could say, hey, well, the agency that's above us, we can talk to them and see what they did. So they kind of want to make it easier because it's kind of complicated across North America. They also have, again, social challenges. Some people just don't want to do it, or some people don't want to participate. How do you change their behavior? So there's some good ideas that we can use in our program to help them, motivate them. Some jurisdictions are using kind of like a sticker program, like for example in Organics Card. Once we roll out our organics program, we can do random checks. Trash, we can look at a lid, and if we see a bunch of organics, we can put a sticker, kind of great job, keep on doing what you're doing. And neighbors compete. Oh, I have 4 stickers. Oh, I have 10. I don't have none. Well, that's because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. There contaminates there. So there's a lot of good ideas that we can draw on. And then again, talking about the extended producer responsibility, that's very hard. It's very political. There's a lot of money involved. I had a note here that trash is a $350 billion industry in the United States. So how do you convince producers to make less? So right now it's just more producing and profits, and so we're left with the trash, and it's up to us to figure out how to recycle that. Some of the examples they pointed to was the little coffee, I forget the name, Keurig. The plastic's recyclable. How do you get the coffee out of that? That's and even the owner is regretting that invention.
There was a report. The guy that invented the Keurig is regretting the fact that he ever did it.
Right. Yeah, he's a millionaire. He makes tons of money, and he's realizing the impact it's having on the environment. So it's like, well, how do we get companies and individuals, entrepreneurs, to think of the environment, think of trash as part of their. That's very difficult to do unless we have like a federal government kind of campaign of zero waste. They had some also Piniquin County case study on lessons of the Recology store, how to sell zero waste. Kind of like they have a bulky item program where if you drop something off, you're free to take something with you. If you see a lamp that someone else dropped off, so you can reuse it instead of just recycling it. And right, and it's up to them. It's totally volunteer. So it's kind of like an idea that they do to try to, reuse the stuff. And
we could send our extra budget documents over there. I'm sure they would take them.
Paperless.
And again, the system challenges are shifting the paradigm from the old way to the new zero waste. Again, I touched some pictures here in New Orleans. They actually the only thing they recycle is cans and plastics. everything else goes to landfill. Glass, C&D. So they're still
Filling up the levees. They don't have landfill anymore, they have levees.
Yeah, right. And as you see the pictures, they just have a lot of trash.
In the second picture, I hope you didn't wake the guy up when you took his picture.
Well, that's actually a homeless recycling program that they're showing. I'm just kidding. But yeah, they so you can tell they have carts that they're out there all the time. They have graffiti issues, and it's definitely a problem in New Orleans, and they definitely need help. And we have some professionals that.
I can already see Ed thinking about a transfer to New Orleans. You know what's amazing? That very last picture out here, the do not dump.
Right.
It says report illegal dumping. They've got a phone number or call 911. Could you imagine calling 911 in this city and saying, hey, my neighbor's dumping grease into it? I mean, holy smoke.
Yeah, yeah. It says violators will be prosecuted, fined, and jailed. Not only would you be fined, you're gonna go to jail. So I was pretty shocked. But yeah, they have their challenges there. You know, they produce a lot of clams. They have a lot of shells. They have a recycling program where they actually take empty and they actually put them back in the ocean, and they get more clams, and it's just neat. But overall, I think there's a lot of stuff.
They don't recycle glass, but they recycle oyster shells.
Correct. Just because
they know their priorities down there.
Just because it's such a huge market, so many visitors. I think twice a year they get 1 million visitors for about a month. Mardi Gras being one, and I forget what the other date was, but there's a lot of oysters. People visiting that eating oysters.
Super type in New Orleans.
Yes, sir.
Quite a place.
Very different. Yeah, people are different. It was.
How much time did you spend down on Bourbon Street?
I
you don't have to answer that.
It was neat. Part of the tour, we did a tour on Thursday, and it was neat. There was a lot of live music, a lot of people from
one
different.
Thing that SWANA does that I've noticed is they offer a whole. I mean, when you look at the agenda for their conferences, some of these organizations have, one or two things. SWANA seems to have like 50,000 things you need to attend or go to. I think you do a pretty good job. This is really an appropriate place to do a conference like this, I think. I mean, these pictures on here are amazing. I mean, that looks like New Orleans. It looks like New Orleans. I mean, that's what you see when you go there.
Yeah.
So,
I got one quick question for Javier.
Yes, sir.
Looking at your pictures, does the trash truck pick up all of the bags also, or do they have someone manually throw them on there?
There's a manual. They pick them up manually. I think they have like a rear loader with a sidearm, so they can kind of pick it up and then bag it.
The second person in the truck that does that?
I believe so. I wasn't clear, but I believe it looks like that's how they do it. They still do it the older way. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of cities still in the U.S. that still do the person jumps out and they do it. So automated. Some people are like, wow, they're trying to get you automated now. And for me, I'm thinking, growing up in California, that's just so. That's how you
so
pick
many
up
of
the
those
trash.
cities, those guys that pick up the trash, especially like in places, the big cities like New York, those are all union guys picking up trash. So if you go to automation, you eliminate union jobs, which causes an issue for those jurisdictions. So
that's an excellent point. How do you go to zero waste? What does zero waste look like for New York? So forget about it.
I know what it looks like, but I can't say.
So it's definitely it was eye opening because again, just having the California mindset made us see how much of a true leaders we are, how ahead of the game we are in North America.
Wait a minute, Jim, Arlene, go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh.
Two comments. One, in above Monterey, and I don't remember where, but on the sanitary district, we went to a facility there. We were bused there, and it was all the things that people throw away in trash. And it was a huge place. It had loads of golfing stuff. It had loads of furniture, everything. And they were recycling it. In other words, you could buy it. Yeah, it was a regular big store. That's one comment. So that's just like what you're saying on that. And the other thing is, I think in California, we will be frustrated for the simple reason, what you're saying, we're in a water drought supposedly, you know, I mean, we really are.
Sure.
And what's happening is people are going to buy more paper plates, more paper things that you, where you went to this conference, which I've been to that one before, and they're saying, don't buy all this paper stuff. Utilize, you know, your dishwasher and this and that. We're going to be the opposite in California because of that. You know, and so
Easily, very easily, yeah.
I could see in Costco, just even when I was there last time, everybody's buying paper plates, paper napkins, paper this. And so anyway,
Oh, yeah.
just a comment.
Jim?
I think that zero waste is going to be different for every community and every state.
Right.
You know, we have a whole different makeup than Louisiana or New Orleans, and I think I think our state is kind of heading in the right direction actually, but there's a line that you don't want to cross, in my mind, and that is being punitive, being you go too far and try and police this thing. You know, all you can do is educate, and then slap them on the wrist or maybe a little bit. But we can't be the big brother police state in any way, shape, or form. And I don't buy that at all. And you've got to be careful going too far with it.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right. That's an interesting point. One of the discussion was about keeping America a beautiful cab, and they talk about their mission statement, how they engage individuals, they engage the community, and they kind of do it as a kind of like they take a leadership method by encouraging participation and giving and you know telling them, hey, great job, thank you for doing this, doing like an reward system where you know one street or one side of a city would compete against another side that kind of like a friendly competition kind of here like east versus west, who would you know put more of organics in their cart, and then recognizing them with an award or a community dinner. So there's different ways to kind of
Mary Poppins syndrome.
yeah, kind of very happy.
Full of sugar.
Right. But I agree. You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to cross that line. But a lot of industry leaders are saying that they needed tougher laws to go away from a volunteer, making the trash industry, taking it from a voluntary and make it more of a mandatory. It's such a problem.
Like New Orleans, they need some help. It looks to me like.
Right.
I mean, you know, they got a ways to go before they even approach our level. You know.
Right.
So yeah.
So
But you know, I think we're farther down the pike than they are.
It really seems like it doesn't. We talk to these people from other states and stuff. They're really, I mean, they have, I guess, they have the ability to go put this stuff somewhere or barge it away, like in New York where they barge it to the Bahamas or wherever they take their cash. But they're going to be missing a boat.
So very informative. It definitely opened up my mind. A lot of environmental engineers. Again, still the industry is still very landfill heavy.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the booths are, you know, how to get more energy out of your landfills. How to minimize leakage. How to squeeze more into your landfill using technology. And so it's amazing. So it'd be nice to see in the future if SWANA goes to more of the AD and more vendors of, hey, we're a company that, manufactures AD parts, buy from us. So it'd be nice to see that. But right now, it's, I would say 90% landfill heavy, is still landfill. And trying to get at. So anyhow, I can go on forever, but great conference. Took a lot of great notes and definitely share more detail with the general managers. Thank you.
I hope that the sticker on the trash can isn't like the ones there in front of the truck. I mean, that's a different kind of sticker.
Right.
Thank you, Javier.
You're welcome.
Number 7, hazardous waste collection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Staff thought it would be a good idea to give the board an overview of this program. So I have Elizabeth Pham is going to be giving this report.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mr. President, full of board members and Scott. I'll be talking about the door-to-door household hazardous waste collection program we have. This program is offered for free for our residents who are 62 years of age or older and mobile or certified disabled individuals. And this is kind of to assist them in disposing their HHW waste. And I'll just talk about the steps for the program. First, the residents contact district or CR&R to schedule a pickup. CR&R will then verify the quantity and type of HHW materials. And at this point, verification of age and physical status is not being checked. It's just based on the honor system. And residents aren't asked to provide any documentation whatsoever. CR&R will then coordinate the pickup time and provide additional information on storage and packaging the HHW materials. On the collection day, the district resident will place the bags and containers at the front of the house at 7 a.m. and they don't need to be home for this to be picked up. CR&R will then pick up the items, and at the end of each month, they will bill us for $98 per pickup. For the current fiscal year, we've only had 30 HHW pickups. We promote this program on our website, newsletter, social media, and through the Costa Mesa Recreation Guides. Javier has also presented this program to the senior center and at the Kiwanis Club. Non-eligible residents can take their materials to the HHW facility, which the nearest one is located in Huntington Beach. We don't anticipate on needing more funds for this program since we've budgeted $35,000 and we've only spent $2,940. But we will continue to monitor the program, and I've attached in this report the flyer that we use to market this program.
It's a really good flyer. I mean, I can't wait till I'm 62 parking.
Elizabeth, when we first started this program a number of years ago, we didn't have a limit on the age, and I was curious if we had the documents that how much we spent on it when we had it open to everybody in the city.
I would defer to Javier for that.
I mean, I don't know if you have those documents handy, but why not consider opening it up to the whole city instead of just a 60?
Similar to a SLAP program, first come, first used.
Yeah. And see how it goes for a year.
Well, let me ask you. In addition to what Art's saying, is our policy that they have to be 62 years old, or is that staff's policy?
Well, actually, I don't recall ever seeing it to open up to everyone. We figured we wanted to limit it.
My question was, is it district policy, the 62 years district policy, or is it staff's determination that should be what the program is? What does the policy say?
I'll have to double check, but the policy may say senior citizens, and the justification for senior citizens is age 62.
Okay,
so
what I'd like to do is see the policy.
Well, there is no.
I mean, I should be able to look it up.
There's no written policy of a program that was prepared to the board, and the board approved the program. Here's the criteria we set up, and the board said, okay, proceed. So it's not.
Operations code is not a write-up of this.
No.
Maybe Rob can expand on that.
Well, your comment, when it was open to everybody, it was abused. And it was just felt that to reduce costs and be more effective, it would just be limited to senior citizens. So if you open it back up, yes, you may spend your money and statistics will go up. However, the cost will go up. So it was just a trade-off.
Yeah. The comment was, I don't see anywhere where it tells you the number of items that you're allowed to have curbside. That's important.
I think I had that question too, is, if I've got 35 cans of paint, are they going to take 35 cans of paint?
I think that really depends on CR&R. Once you call and they do ask that you itemize and kind of detail everything that you would like to get picked up with them, then they will determine what the limit is.
Right.
But I'd like to add that for all of our non-eligible residents, we do have the annual or semi-annual HHW pickup event that we have. We'll be having that in November. And now that, because it's offset from a grant, I feel like we can offer it more often. And so, you know, if we do decide to change the program, that's...
Yeah, I was assumed this was more of a convenience for disabled and seniors. I didn't really look at it as a big collection, because having gone to the collection thing over at Orange Coast College, I was absolutely amazed at how many people took advantage of that. So, better.
When we first started the program, we didn't have CR&R run the program. We had a different vendor, which cost us a lot more.
Yeah.
And this price is a lot less than, and I think it's reasonable to consider, for consideration of possibly opening it up to everybody. So maybe at some point we could put that on discussion to consider, and maybe look at, and like Bob says, maybe when we're going through the policies, we can look to see if that's written
Well, I
as a
think as
policy.
part of that, we need to bring CR&R into the discussion mix too. I'd hate to.
Well, they would love the business.
But, you know,
I would think they would.
but, you know, I still think that they need to itemize, not just leave it up to them, because I put them out before, I put way too much, and they said only 15 is allowed, so I had to go and take mine to the...
So what we should do is have a policy that says what it is. And the mission statement of the district is protecting our community's health and environment by providing solid waste, sewer, and sewer collection services. You know, I don't see anything in there that limits 62 years old.
Well, there's never, you know, when we first did it, the other companies did have a limit. It was like 10 items, or it was a smaller number, so that would be good to identify. We have to identify it.
So my question is, would we have it like how we offer the bulky item pickup? Like we have limit like 10 items, but 3 pickups per year. If we were to revise
Can you
it.
suggest some alternatives?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what is the history? You know, and if we have one person that has 30 items and we have everyone else, or does CR&R tell them what the limit is, and we don't have a limit in our policy? You know, and we need to clarify.
I believe we did, we'll have to look through our files, but I think we did do a presentation to the board considering going community-wide, and I think we determined not to do it because it was just too costly. But I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we presented this to
We
the
should also
board.
be presented with budget data, and if we're spending 10% of what we budgeted, if we told the public we're gonna budget 10 times more.
Okay, I'll do a financial analysis since we've been separated from the city.
You want us to just put this on an upcoming?
One more comment,
Yeah,
if I
go
may,
ahead.
Mr. President. I do know the more thing about we don't have it listed on our flyer, but I do recall on our contract, and it is per the vehicle code, that we are limited to 150 pounds of HHW material legally that CNR is able to pick up in the vehicle and move it safely with state regulations. So if that's one item, or it's 10 items, you cannot exceed the 150 pounds. So it depends on the material it is, because there is a limit on weight, and it is referenced in the contract. We could definitely mention that.
We'll bring CNR up and what their regulations are.
Yeah,
Just have FedEx pick it up, because there are no limits.
No, you have to have the vendor.
HHW?
FedEx
Oh,
you have to have
FedEx
a
and HHW. That's funny. Well, I don't know. Would
I'm
it?
sure Mike guys here really relish coming to my house.
But I think this would be a good agenda.
Yeah, we'll get involved.
Yeah,
Just looking at the money that we've spent and what we have available.
So that shows that, you know, obviously they're not taking advantage of the program. It's not like we're having a problem. That's one of the reasons we're so lax on the honor system. If they told us they were 62, we said, sure, okay, fine, we'll schedule the pickup. And that proves that they're not.
Yeah, I agree.
There's
I'm
not an 18-year-old kid
surprised
lying.
it's so low. That
Right.
I would have thought although most 62-year-olds probably aren't doing their painting. They're probably paying some of the paint, but they do have the cleaning chemicals just alone. I know when my father-in-law passed away, the stuff he had in his garage was unbelievable. I mean, he must have bought every.
And we've had extended we've had the program to those who have passed. We have phone calls from daughters or sons of residents that say, hey, my mother or my father lives in Costa Mesa that just passed, and they have a ton of stuff. can you pick it up? I definitely tell them, yeah, and I let CR know, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Go ahead and extend the HHW pickup. And even then, the numbers are still low.
I think that's a good public relations thing for all of us. Okay, then we'll bring this back and good discussion, guys. All right, Wendy, your favorite subject? You can be presenting this, Scott?
Yes, yes.
I am sensing some animosity towards
No,
finance
none
this morning.
whatsoever. There's no animosity.
I've had,
He
you
did
haven't
talk
yet,
to
but.
I only had one
Okay.
according to the decaf.
Okay. Before you is the sewer lateral assistance program review staff report. We brought this back to you to review the progress over the past 9 months and what we'd like is some direction for the upcoming fiscal year and probably actually 2 fiscal years since we're adopting a budget program for 2 fiscal years. I wanted to let you know that as of the end of March, we've accepted 175 applications, new applications. We budgeted $200,000. Of that $200,000, that's $1,250 each. That's 160. So we've already accepted more applications than we were budgeted for. And I was able to do that because we carried over $65,000 from the prior year, which is about 41 applications. And then some of those people didn't follow through with their completing the process. At 6 months, we give them another month. We notify them by mail, and we give them another month to contact us, and then we'll extend it if they do contact us. And so when they don't contact us after that time period, we reallocate the money. So this is a very labor-intensive tracking program that we're constantly rolling over and tracking and trying to project. We have approximately, I think, 36, as of March 31st, 36 more slots available, but that could be increased if people, are reimbursed less. Out of the 170 or out of the 126 applications we've taken in, it's averaging about $1,100 per application. So it's a little less that they're being reimbursed with people that don't, that did a video and didn't have any problem and didn't need it. So the bottom line here is, let's just go to the bottom line. The bottom line is $200,000 is not going to be enough to sustain this in the next year. Our options are we increase the budget, we decrease the reimbursement amount, or we change the program entirely. Staff is recommending to change the program entirely and go to a more preventative. What we see with the existing staff interactions with the plumbers and the people that come in is they're not finding out about the program until they've got a problem. The plumber comes out. So the plumber is telling them, but he's doing the work at the same time. And so the plumber's in here, the homeowner's in here, and it's very adversarial for staff. It's not a pleasant interaction. We have very few people that are actually following the guidelines of, being proactive about having their video done. And usually when we see people that have their videos done and have only get reimbursed for their video, that was because the problem was really in the house and not in the lateral. And so we're saying, hey, it's clean, and they're saying, hey, everything's backing up. And we're saying, but it's not in the lateral. So that's generally what we see. So it's very difficult. The plumbers are, they want to get the work done quickly, and we understand that. So, then they have the homeowner call and beg us, well, I didn't know and he didn't tell me. So we have a lot of that going on. It's difficult for staff to deal with. What we're recommending is to make it more proactive is that we go on to a videoing program where everyone could have their lateral videoed so they kind of know what situation they're looking at, and we'll review it. It would be no cost out of the homeowner's pocket. The homeowner would fill out the form. We can include it in our newsletters and put it online. There's a lot of different ways to just give them the form. They call one of the plumbers. We have the plumbers come in like we do now for the training. And if they, agree to do it for the set amount, whether it's through the roof or through a clean out, then they're on the program. We'll consider them a list. They come out, they lateral and video the sewer line, and they bring the application, their invoice, and the DVD to us. We call the homeowners, and we say, this is what we saw, get 3 quotes. You know, we've got a lot more options, and then the homeowner can plan. You know, we're seeing a lot of tree roots in there, but you're still pretty wide open, but you're going to have to do something sooner or later. Get 3 quotes. What you're probably going to want is some hydrojetting. You know, if you didn't have a clean out, we saw that we paid the upper rate. You want to have a clean out put in, that will facilitate doing this. We'll have a lot of more option to give the people options, you know, because they're not already having the plumber out there telling them, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do. And so staff is recommending that this program would save finance, because we set up a new vendor. Every homeowner that applies ends up being a vendor in our system. So as you saw, we had, you know, like 126 vendors just for this year already. It's a suggestion. I know you've probably heard this suggestion before over the last couple of years as options, but bottom line is we've got to do something, either lower the amount or we're going to have to cut off the program sooner, and I know that the board has not been amenable to having to end the program before the end of the fiscal year. So right now I'm looking at the way it's going with about averaging 20 applications a month, is we won't make it all the way through June unless, you know, some of the people expire their applications and we are able to roll over. So.
Good job, Wendy. If I could just add on to this, I think what we're recommending is what we believe is really a true preventative maintenance program. I think, and I believe that's what the board was intended for this program to be, the preventative maintenance program. But what we like about this program is that what we're seeing a lot is these plumbers taking advantage of the residents. We're seeing bills coming to $8,000, $10,000, and a lot of times it's not necessary. This program will prevent that. This program, we can actually say, look, here's what we see. Yeah, you need some work. Here's what we suggest you to do. Now go get 3 quotes and get the best price. This really protects
the only problem I have with that part of it, I'm kind of agreeing a lot with Wendy with what you're saying, it being a preventive maintenance thing, but you got to remember what I do for a living, and when we do preventive maintenance and we make recommendations, I don't want to get into a situation where we recommend something, it gets screwed up, and then we're on the hook for it liability-wise.
We can have them sign something. We can have some we can go with Alan and have them. Okay, here's our recommendations. They sign off on that. They don't hold us responsible for the plumber's action.
Because they're still going to get sued, but that's a better step.
Right.
I think Arlene.
Yeah. Question on when if the plumber gets the okay from the person, the house, and they come to you, they have to come to you first to get a permit before they can start in.
No.
That's what I was told.
Well, you're talking about our existing SLAP. Under this new program, the homeowner would fill out the application, pick one of the firms, call them. The firm would come out, video, and then the plumber, the firm, would bring the video, the application, and their invoice to us. And we would pay the plumber, review the invoice, and contact the homeowner. So it's less burden on the homeowner and more proactive. And we decided that it would be, we talked to Steve, and he said, you know, with roots, they can come back a lot quicker. So we said instead of allowing every 5 years, we could do every 3 years, so you could kind of see, you know, where your changes are. And it would allow, you know, a lot more participation.
Say SLAP program the way it is, they have to come in here and get a permit.
Yes, they do.
Now, do we pay for that permit, or do they pay for the permit?
We waive the fees. We have no idea if they end up charging the homeowner for the permit fees anyway. They'll tell.
Some do. I think the majority. Ironically, I had a customer in my office last night that had just gone through this, and they knew about our SLAP program, but the plumber exerted so much pressure to get this. If you don't get this done now, if we have to go.
I don't know when I'm going to be back.
If we have to go through this bureaucracy with the sanitary district, you're going to have an issue. And so my customer went ahead and let him do the work, you know? And I think that happens way more than we know.
Yeah.
Well, see, right now I'm going through it, and so, you know.
Your whole neighborhood is or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, no, we're getting sidewalks.
Oh.
I'm trying to get a tree up.
Good luck.
Well, I will. Anyway.
That's your tree, you know. That's
not the
No, it
city.
isn't, it's a, it
City
isn't,
tree.
it's a city tree, and the lateral, yeah.
And it's in
But
the
what
ballot.
I'm getting at is that, when you would pay half of what he charges me, you know, whatever, like
Up
2,000,
to.
up, you, 1,200, I
And
think.
50, yeah, up
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
waive the fees. But again, one of the problems I have when I review these things, you know, and I'm way down the line,
Yeah.
you know, I'm getting the invoice, and I'm looking at the invoice, and you've all had plumbing permits and contractors. They've got quote sheets, they fill them out, they're NCR, you're getting the third copy, they're hard to read.
I know.
And they were options on them. And so they're just saying they paid this amount. We don't require proof of payment. So sometimes I can't determine, you know, how much the homeowner actually paid for the service, because they just turn in this sheet that says, you know, this is what they were going to do. And I don't like that, you know, but I think the extraordinary step of saying, prove to me how much you paid. Let me see your credit card. Let me see your canceled check.
Yeah.
That would just kill the program right there.
Probably
So, you know, there's kind of that happy balance where you're, you know, but we have no idea, you know.
It's so hard to read it.
Yeah,
what
she's
they
got a
say.
perfect
I
example
didn't
of,
even know they had NCR anymore. Bob and then Elizabeth.
Well, the plumber's a little behind the curve.
no, they're all like that, honestly.
I'm
They
sure
all
they
are
are.
like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
The
This is-
goal of the
it's hard
program
to say
is
it.
to prevent plumbers from rotting roots from sewer laterals into the main line. You know, I applaud your thinking about changing the program. In the transition though, we've set the community up for the 1,000 people out there that have taken, used this process. There's 1,000 more that probably haven't. No, yeah, 15,000 homes. I think that would double the cost. I think that you owe the community of residents and plumbers that we've trained to do this program, you know, a method of phasing it out. You know, and that'll cost you another, expecting a couple $100,000, because everybody out there that's talked to their neighbors had the ability to take advantage of this program. Then we will have to be explaining to them why we're doing it. I'm for thinking about staff providing the method of transitioning to this new program, but in the meantime, budgeting to pay, you know, $1,000 instead of $1,250, which will extend the number of customers we can do. Costa Mesa's a tree city. It's horrible. You know, trying to get rid of a tree in your parkway is abysmally difficult. You may win once in a while. Every application that I've seen in the past year, rarely do they not deny it. The arborist is through the public.
I sat on that Parks and Recreation Commission, and we had hundreds of requests to remove trees, and they all made perfect sense, but there was always somebody on that commission who, you know, we had one guy that wanted to move his driveway over to the other side of his property, and if he did that, his tree was going to be in the middle. We had people on that Parks Commission that said, well, they could just drive their car around that tree. We're not taking that tree out. That's the mentality you deal with. He's right. These trees are
Sacred.
sacred, you know.
But I think my recommendation would be to reduce the funding and then begin to think through how to make the transition. I don't have a clue yet. I think you did a good explanation, but I don't have a clue how we get out ahead of this problem unless we go and video 15,000 laterals.
Okay, could we do a twofold? That's an excellent suggestion. How about we reduce 100,000 towards or something less, because, you know, at $300 or $400 or $600 video.
I'd stick with 200,000 because that's how many applications we're going to get next year. I mean, that's
But
the historical.
and I won't be able to make the whole year, so you're saying reduce it to $1,000.
Yeah.
Then how do we start up the videoing?
Let me
Because
know
I
what-
need less money.
Well,
I don't have more money in trash overall. I have to use that same 100,000 to.
Explain it to us what you need
Okay.
to
How about-
do a pilot program in, you know, where you're headed.
Okay. The
I
newspaper
don't
article
wanna
is
give you
just about to
100,000.
come out. We could start publicizing the new program. How about if I drop the the sewer assistance program down to $150,000 at $1,000 a pop, first come, first serve, and use $50,000 to go towards the new lateral for the first year.
What are you gonna use that $50,000 for? You haven't explained it to
To
me yet.
reimburse the plumbers for videoing, it'll be $400 or $600 for the
But you
video.
haven't explained to me how they're going to implement this program. The only time that we get calls is when they got a problem.
So we're
How
gonna
do you get ahead of that?
we're gonna advertise it in the newspapers.
Yeah.
We can do community outreach. We can do tons of advertising, but all we have to do is tell the plumbers, and the plumbers are going to say, "I can fill every minute with videotaping every
It's more work for
homeowners."
them. I mean, I think the
Yes.
key is to the plumbers. The plumbers will do our work for us.
I think so too, because it's not going to stop them from doing the job while they're out at a job and come here. They're going to say, "Hey, we're participating with the Costa Mesa Sanitary District on this videoing."
Yeah, my
And-
recommendation is it's $200,000 for the existing program and then some additional for, however you're gonna transition to this new program. Give it, it's a pilot program. It should be a pilot program, not 100% effective immediately. The education you're gonna do will take years. I mean, we've gotten to this state since 2007. You're not gonna immediately overnight change the program.
Okay.
I think, I appreciate where you potentially are heading, but I don't think staff knows yet how to do this. Not explained to me yet how to do this.
If you can do it, Director, saying that's fine, but you made a comment that we don't have enough money to make it till June now. So what do we need to, how do we correct that? I mean,
We're going to stop the program as soon as we run out of slots.
which is what we've done.
Right. Well, last year we reappropriated additional money
Which
and
we-
then carried over the
Which we
remaining.
still have the option of doing. We just gotta have you get creative and figure out where to get the money. I mean,
Exactly.
So one of two things: we stop it like we have done before, or we reallocate.
We watched it, the spreadsheet is huge, and every single person that touches it is looking at, how many people. Tammy is checking to make sure expirations are followed up on. So I'm hoping that either need will slow down a little, or that we'll be able to reallocate some people that haven't finished out the program, and then we'll carry those people over into the new year, and we might have the same scenario this year, but
We've created a bigger-headed monster than
it's an expensive program.
Exactly what we have intended to do, and that is to get the homeowner to fix those sewer laterals so that the plumber doesn't rod those roots into the main line and cause SSOs. And to that extent, it's been very effective. We rarely have a sanitary sewer overflow now from pushed-in roots. And it's because of this program.
Rob, you have a comment?
It's expensive, but
Yes, I did, I believe, but I'd like to wait until Elizabeth
Oh, I'm
gets
sorry.
her shot.
Yes, I did
It's
know.
okay, I'm sorry. I'd like to say it's just a way to make the homeowner accountable and the plumber accountable. I have seen that, yes, it is a first come, first serve, and now that we have to end it sooner than we anticipated, a lot of these plumbers are taking advantage of it, and it's a disadvantage for the other residents. They're coming in, one particular plumber is saying that every single project he has is an emergency, he needs it done right away. And so he takes away the thoughts from other residents who would like to be proactive, but can't. And I also think that, yeah, it's a change, but like the organic recycling program, we went from a one-can system, and now we're asking our residents to go to organic things. It's going to take a lot of education and a lot of communication, but I think it's possible. So,
I'm very supportive of that, but not at, we just go, okay, let's do it 50% less next year, because you're not going to be able to do that.
yeah, I
And without
agree.
irritating a lot of, Arlene's in there.
I should have done that when it was
Each
1600.
time we reduce the funds, they get mad at us. So we know it's inevitable. We can't please everyone.
I can hear the fun. It's not my fault. It's Sam's.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
A couple of interesting things. First of all, the average back when the program started and the reimbursable was $1,800, was also 1,100.
Yeah.
So Wendy's reporting now that the average is 1,100 when the reimbursable allowed is 1,250. It was 1,100 back then too. So it appears that the average has always been 1,100. So there's some data that you could depend on that. With regard to how to get out ahead of the program, Director Uden's correct. No one's going to make a phone call until they have a problem. Nobody's going to work on their sewer lateral, even if it's a program where you get reimbursed if they don't have to. They're going to wait until they have a problem, and then they're going to get active. You always have the problem of whether or not it's emergency. The best thing that the sanitary district can do for the residents in the community is to counsel them on what they do and don't need, meaning that to look at the videotape and to tell them what they do need and what they don't need, and give them some idea of cost so that they're an informed resident making a decision. And if you go down to possibly only reimbursing the amount of the video, Wendy said 400 to 600. It used to be 350 to 400. Say 500. Well, maybe 350, 400. The plumbers may have an easier time getting around the sanitary district if it's only, the reimbursable is only 350, 400, because they may say you're gonna have to wait all that time for them to look at that. I'll just give that to you for free, and like they're doing now, because they know there's going to be more in the back end. So the best thing you can do for the residents is figure out how to have them discuss with us what their problems are before they get it fixed. So that's where we can provide the best service.
Okay, we suggested maybe we have a meeting to talk about this. This has become a really big thing over the years, it's become such a huge thing for the district that maybe we ought to have a separate meeting to talk about just the SLAP program. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
Wendy, what do you think?
Yeah, of course, whatever the board directs.
That's
That's
why I want you to tell me.
Yeah, we're running out of time, and we've already got some special meetings scheduled for the budget, and then, we'll have a meeting for all the salary information, so we'll be spinning the budget, after that.
What we need to do is have a meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, Art, but as we transition this program, and if we're going to evolve it into something else, we need to sit down and talk about that more specifically, more than what your concerns are now. Right now you're on a track to stop this program soon.
In June.
Yeah. I think we have to, personally, I think we just have to continue on that road, but I think we need to start talking about what the next generation of the SLAP program is going to be. After this budget, after you've already done this
Right.
budget.
So would it be acceptable to the board if we continue the program at $1,000 in the new year, waive the fees, $200,000, we stop when we're out of money, and then I will find money for the pilot program and bring that back to the board either in the budget process or we'll bring it back later?
Yeah, if it's 1,100,
My comment would be like 1,100, like the average cost. That would make more sense to me. I know, but
No,
Bob recommended 1,000.
1,000 is 200,000. I can probably cover the number of applications that we will probably end up with. I'm estimating that we will have about 200,000 applications this year that we actually pay for.
When would that start? $1,000?
It would start July 1st. So it would be $1,000, not 1,100, and so then I could cover the number of applications I anticipate having. 1,100 we would.
Yeah, I would go for that. When we discuss it at the board meeting.
Yeah, we're not going to do this until next week, right?
Yeah, I'll have to bring back a staff report to the board.
I think you already started.
So my direction is $200,000, $1,000 reimbursement, and we'll deal with the pilot program in the budget process.
I think that works.
And it wouldn't start till July.
Right. Yes.
And
And if we run out of money this year, we'll stop our program.
Yours we're
That's
gonna,
what we're doing, that's what we're
you
doing.
better get yours in quickly, because we're gonna,
No, I didn't make that, I didn't make a motion that we just, staff has the authority to stop the program.
That's what we've been doing when we run out of money.
We haven't made any,
we
we haven't made any
appropriated
motions,
that.
we're just talking about bringing it to the board's attention on
Yeah.
the board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Fabius.
Just last thing, to add to Director Uden's comments about, yes, they're pushed in routes, but one of the other goals of the program is to decrease private sanitary sewer overflows. There's quite a volume of private wastewater that makes its way into the ocean along with the public wastewater. And it does help if they're educated on that, they would be more educated on our other programs and why we're spending all the money we do on sewer. So there are some educational benefits.
Okay. Can we take like a, so you don't want to take like a 2-minute break? Or is it just the older bladders? 4 minutes? Let's make it fun. You better go first. No, I'm fine. You're older.
I know, that's
So let's take
Take your mics off before you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Just like a 5-minute break.
Wendy,
yes,
when the program?
you know, what we see and see
Very
when
good
the
food,
work was
yeah.
done, but if the program's not working.
Okay, we'll move to item 8, the building criteria for new headquarters.
Item number 9, you mean, yes,
Yes, that's right.
thank you, Mr. President. You know, as you know, we've been looking for another building to replace this building, and the reason is really for the plan for our build out, you know, as we grow. And so, as we looked at a couple of buildings, it was brought to our attention by the board members that maybe we should talk about the criteria, so we're not running around with our heads cut off. And so, the purpose for today is really maybe I can share with you some criterias, and if you're okay with that, then I can share that with our broker. And okay, here's what we're looking for. Don't give us any information unless you find these criteria. And so, obviously, you know, right now this building is about 4,500 square feet. The last 2 buildings I showed you, here's what we looked at for build out, what we need. So we're probably looking at, you know, if you want to accommodate build out, we're looking at anywhere between 9,000 and 10,000 square feet, basically doubling the size of this building. We definitely want to have plenty of parking, because, you know, even when we have our meetings, staff is parking over at the senior center right now, because there's just inadequate parking here as it is. Also, we wanted to have a secured place, you know, definitely secured for staff's safety and for the public. We want to, if the building has, or the property has equipment storage capabilities, you know, it'd be nice if we can store some of our generators at the new building. It'd also be nice if we can move the code enforcement to the new building as well. Move his vehicle over here, and again, it frees up some space at the yard. Single story, I think would be nice, but you know, because you know, if you go double story, then you got to look at elevators. You know, and that's another issue. So I think single story would be appropriate. Centrally located, obviously, would be ideal, but it's probably not feasible. But we'll definitely look at, you know, location, easy to find, is essential. Good signage, I think, is also important. We want to make sure we can put signage where people can easily find us. And then I have, also heard a question, HOA. I mean, some of the buildings we looked at have HOA. I don't know if that's a deal breaker with you. If you want us to look at those that don't have HOAs.
Not me necessarily.
Okay.
I've been involved with HOAs.
Depends on the criteria of HOA.
Yeah, I think we need some advice on how restrictive they are. And, the one over by the airport was so restrictive.
Right.
That would have strangled us, I
Of
think.
course, that's where it's accessible to the public.
Yes, definitely. So those are the criteria I wrote down. If there's anything else that, if you agree, or is there anything else you want me to add to that?
Well, when the ad hoc committee meets tomorrow, that's one of the things that is listed on our policies already that we can discuss. It's the criteria for building selection. So it's in the stuff that you presented to us.
Is it?
So we can go over that.
For the policy manual changes.
I'm not sure if it's a policy yet, but it's under one of the things that
Yeah.
you submitted to us.
What is the broker? Is he shopping and then letting you know where?
Yeah, when he gets a listing of properties for sale, he'll shoot it out to us and say, hey, this just came up for sale.
I noticed a couple of properties on Placentia when I was driving the other day. They were single-story buildings with, you know, yardage in the back.
I think we have.
Okay.
You know, you might also list land. I mean, there's not a lot of land that comes up, but if it should, we could build our own building, you know.
Well, you know, at the planning commission meeting last night, McCarthy mentioned, something to the effect that, I guess, Fairview Developmental Center's got ready to fold their tent and go away.
Who is, what is?
Fairview
Oh, yes,
Developmental
yeah,
Center.
yes, right.
So I agree with Jim. I mean, if land becomes available, something to consider.
I looked on
I mean,
the
it would
open
obviously
space,
add
and there was some. but I
gear to
didn't
our
think
insurance.
we have to
Every-
tear it out.
When we were
Yeah,
looking for a yard.
remember?
Now, with all that said, would the board object if we at least make a contact with the property owner next door and see if they're interested in selling?
I wouldn't have a problem with it, because I think security-wise, we could, you know, make this secure out here.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, have a automatic gate,
Right,
and that whole
right.
thing. So I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, you either probably knock that thing
Knock
down.
it out and start from scratch.
Yeah.
But
Make it parking lot.
Yeah, I think that's another.
And next to him, is that, what?
Residential.
A home?
Yes,
Oh, okay, okay. I thought maybe
I
there
wonder how
was
this
one
is
other.
zoned. If it's zoned
But a
commercial all
home
the
here
way
Yeah.
back,
Can't be more than
or mixed,
That's probably just commercial, C2.
C2 all the way back to the house.
Yeah.
So do you want me to, you know, like Vice President Perry said, we're meeting tomorrow, I think, right? So do you want us to hash these out a little bit more in the criteria?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, probably the only criteria I have, I think all those are great criteria. I'd be interested in, you know, staffing, you kind of glossed over that, but, you have some, in the different buildings, you've had some different positions and permanently on staff. And I think what you're gonna need, you know, one of them is, you know, whether or not we ever bring engineering in. I have low interest at present, just off the top of my head, in bringing engineering in, you know, and then the engineering in on staff in the building. I think that we've historically advertised that we're very highly outsourced, and we have 14% overhead costs for staffing and whatnot. And I for one think that has been a good selling point. So I think you ought to look at that's going to be part of your meeting. Trying to maintain that number, and that'll be a different size building. And I think that should be decided before the broker and told to the broker. I would not vote for having a staff of 20. You haven't even told us what the number is. It depends on the building. And so I would think we could settle on potentially a building that's adequate in all these criteria with the present staffing.
But we're looking at the future, Director. We're looking at the
And I am
build out.
too.
Looking at build. I mean, Rob one day will retire, right?
Oh, that's
I think
Rob will one day retire.
I am all for
You know?
Rob retiring when he wants to retire.
Right.
I am not for I'm not for staff thinking that that's the time to bring engineering in-house.
We all agree on that, I'd say.
And so, that's a different number than you're looking at right now. That's a different number than you told the broker, or the different number than you told us when you have selected buildings and put offices in there. And that's a key criteria.
Yeah, again, we're looking towards the future of 10, 15 years from now. If we're built out.
My build-out options is different than it sounds like from yours.
Well, because I've heard from the board, if we go down this road, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to look out, hey, we're built out, we got to look for another building. And so that's what we were looking at. Okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it one time, and this is how, and this is what it would look like built out.
And my criteria that I'm discussing with you takes that into consideration. If you say we're never going to internalize engineering, that's a number that you don't ever have to worry about in the future. You are now, the staff, my opinion is that the staff now has in mind the future build-out to include engineering, and I disagree with that. And that's something, that makes the size of the building, the parking needs, and the
Why do you
whatnot.
disagree with it?
Because I want to continue to tell the community what we've told them all along, and that is that our overhead is 14%, including staffing, of our budget, and not 75% that the cities have. I mean, we told that time and time again to the public. We are a very efficient organization. I want to retain that efficiency. I want it to be decided whether we're going to retain it or not. That's a huge selling point for being a special district that is very efficiently run. And we've told that to the public. It's 14%, 16%, or whatever it is, and not what the cities are, which is 75% staffing costs. Yeah.
Well, Rob's gonna live to be 100, so it's
irrelevant.
It's really
Yeah,
irrelevant.
He's healthy.
I'll tell the next board what you guys have in mind.
There you go.
But I think that's the only criteria that I think is worth deciding on.
Well, I don't know if we have to list that as in looking for a building, but we can keep that in mind when we occupy the building.
But you have to have, if that is, if staff decides we're going to go to 20 for future build out, 20 staff instead of 12.
Yeah, they've never told us that. We've never
No,
discussed that.
they have, because when those buildings when they put offices in those buildings,
I was gonna rent out all those offices and make more money for the district.
Yeah.
they've included all those positions. The staff vision of build out is presently different than mine.
Yeah, I would say our first step is to look at the building. If we find something that's to our interest, then we go from there.
But if they tell Joe we have a range, it's 12 or it's 20, Joe has to look
You're
for,
talking about square footage.
with staffing,
Yeah, I mean-
office accommodations, parking, and I don't know what all the criteria you
I'd say we have to wait. We have to, right now we're here. And in the future, if we find something that we decide if that's the building for us, based on our needs at the present time and the future.
And the build out city.
Well, I think that it's the board's obligation to decide on, or to be a part of the decision on what our future staffing will be.
It will be. It'll always be on the city.
But
It's just premature right now
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
to plan
premature.
on that, and view the fact that Rob's still with us, we don't have any plans
We're
to
wrong.
change that scenario.
There's a lot, I think there's a lot
I
of
mean,
factors.
look at the,
As Mr. Mosher pointed out in the past, even with the technology, and there's a lot of things to consider in this mix. I want to be prepared, whatever the consequences are, whether we include future needs of staff or future needs of technology. Again, what Scott just said appeals to me. We should only do this one more time. I mean, I don't want to burden the future boards.
we could do that, but it depends on whether we're gonna be a small staff or a big staff.
We can always blame it
And
on
I'm saying
Wendy.
that needs to be.
Thank you. There's the last person.
Maybe we never get this
What
done.
did you say, Jim?
There you go.
We probably would.
Come on down to this
All right,
end
so
of the
then
table.
tomorrow, as you talk, and then we can bring this.
Yeah, we'll give you guys an update as we go. It's not gonna be a long process.
Yeah.
Knowing you to take months.
No, we're told our needs to be a fast
No, we're
process.
good.
Yes.
We're good.
Because everything's outlined really well right now.
Yeah.
Mr. Mosher, you have number 9 possibly. We've probably taken the possibly out for you, haven't we?
Pretty much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've missed about half the meetings about this, so I can't comment too intelligently. But, and I personally, as a resident and ratepayer, it's not obvious to me whether in-house engineering or outsourced engineering is more cost-effective for me as a ratepayer. I really don't know. But I would like to echo Director Putin's comment. The whole basis of this and the size of building you're looking for, I would hope is predicated on a really clear understanding of what the board envisions the district to look like 10 years from now, so that we're not buying a building twice as big as we need and find it half empty.
Very good. Okay, so you guys know where we're going on that. Okay. Number 10 is the mayor's celebration. Scott?
Yeah, just needs direction from the board if you want to participate in this event. We've done it in the past. I mean, we've typically gone silver sponsor, which is $2,500. Typically, that gives us a table, I believe, and gives a bunch of advertisement. You'll see our names on the programs up on the big screen. So, just get some direction from the board what you want to do.
I voted no last year, and I continue to vote no, because I don't see any value to the district in participating in this event. And I think last year we didn't get our name in the program.
Yeah, we did.
The year before we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm kind of on your side this time around, because the two guys they're honoring, I don't even know who the hell
Well,
they are. You know?
since Art brought it up first, I'm kind of leading with Art too, because I did a little research. Well, I did a little research on the people that they're honoring, and there's been our city council has been very, very forward in recognizing developers and lawyers and people that serve their interests. These two guys were the developers of Triangle, the Triangle Square area. And so now, with all that said, when I look at what the money is supposed to be used for, just because the mayor is doing something I may not agree with, is that money being used to help some kids that need the money? So I'm kind of on the fence right now with it. I don't see a lot of benefit in this thing. It's a party.
See, I do. I see benefit for the simple reason, PR-wise, that our name is out there. We're part of the city, not necessarily the city that council that was with, but also the city itself. And, you know, that we're in so much involvement in the community that this is just part of us being part of the community.
Well, we could send one representative, I think, and that would satisfy our, appearance there.
Are we going to decide to vote on this at the board meeting?
If I could, I think they want a decision soon. I think it's due really soon. So if the board doesn't mind giving us directions today on what you want to do.
I've historically attended the event, and the disappointing part is not who they're honoring, but they do a really good job of doing videos and whatnot. And what I've suggested to Rickheimer and others is that what they ought to do is do videos of where the money's going.
Yeah.
It's supporting the arts.
Yeah.
And they just get short script. The money does help certain individuals in the community, and I'd be supportive of that. But they make too big a deal of the people they're honoring. They spend a lot of time and money and make videos of them, and with flash the face on the screen and whatnot. I personally can't attend the event this year because we're having a Friends of the Library program that night. But I've historically attended, and they don't listen. But I think supporting the event, I agree with Arlene, supporting the event is, the money goes to worthwhile causes.
I know, to me, it's just like saying, we're not going to be part of the liaison committee, and you have to be, because you're in the community, and, you're able to work with these people, you have to no matter what.
You can just buy one seat, can't you?
Sure, we can buy individual, but our names won't be out there. Our names won't be in the programs. Won't be on the screens. We won't get any kind of advertising. In fact, when you think about it, I mean, that might be a challenge because that could be give public funds. Because the reason why that's how we justify it is that it's promoting our programs, promotes the district. So if we just go in one individual, we don't get that promotion. So that maybe we can't do that. Yeah, I don't know if we can do that.
Mr. Mosher, you got something on your card.
Yeah. On this matter, I agree with Director Perry. Reading the letter that's in the agenda packet, the money being raised is going for arts education programs. But that is not a function that people in the sanitary district are paying their fee for. If we want to support arts education programs, we can do that on our own. we're not paying our bill to this district for the money to be used for that use. So the only possible justification of this is the advertising function, and it seems like not a big bang for the buck use of the district's advertising money. So I cannot really see the justification for this. The other comment I wanted to make is that we are talking about mayor's dinners for the Costa Mesa mayor. As we see on the seal up there, and as we all know, the sanitary district actually preceded the city of Costa Mesa. And I assume but do not know that when the district was formed, the entire area that the district currently covers was unincorporated city, unincorporated county land. A huge part of that was annexed into Costa Mesa subsequent to 1944, but other parts of it were annexed into the city of Newport Beach subsequent to 1944.
The city of Santa Ana.
Perhaps a tiny bit in the city of Santa Ana. Now, I don't know about Santa Ana. I know that Newport Beach has a mayor's dinner also, which would be a good opportunity for the board to get acquainted with the administration in Newport Beach. However, again, I could not justify that as a proper expense because the advertising associated with that would be nil. And just as a matter of interest, I wanted to point out to you, considering the overlap, actually one of the city council people on the Newport Beach City Council, Councilman Tony Petros, who had the voters not gone in a different direction, would have been in line to be probably this year Mayor Pro Tem, and next year the mayor being celebrated at the mayor's dinner in Newport Beach, is, like me, actually a resident of Costa Mesa Sanitary Sewer District. So.
I just want to tell you the good news, bad news. This Lions Convention starts the 14th, the 15th, 16th thing, so I will not be going to this.
I wouldn't be going if it was tomorrow.
So I'm hearing this is a no.
I'm hearing the majority of us saying no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Neil Gavon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Denise Martinez is going to give the presentation, and she's going to give you a demo of a new program we put in place. As you know, one of our core values is technology, and so this is a new ties into the core values. A new way of, when we hire new staff, they go through a whole orientation and a lot of documents they have to sign and all this. It kind of streamlines the process, and it's all done electronically, pretty neat. So I'm going to have Denise give you a demonstration.
Thank you, Scott, Mr. President, board members, and guests. Right now, the Costa Mesa Sanitary District uses a product called Insight by NeoGov to manage our recruitment and selection process. It helps us to streamline that process and also automate that process. We can track employment applications, we can set up interviews through that process, we can also screen our candidates through that process, so it's really been beneficial for our organization and also for users of that system. So NeoGov also offers another product that's called onboarding. And what onboarding is when you're getting a new hire acclimated to your agency. You socialize them to our agency, you give them the KSAs to begin working for our agency, and you help them to hit the ground running as soon as possible. And this system allows you to do that because it uses modern technology and really streamlines that process. So I'm going to show you how it works. If you hire an employee, they'll already have their data gathered in the NeoGov system because we're already using it for the recruitment and selection process. So we'll have their email in there. So we hire somebody, we use their email and send them a login for this site. So then they set up their account and they go and sign in. And hopefully this is going to, hold on. There we go. Okay. So they use their username to sign in.
Are they doing this on their own system, Denise?
Yes, they can do it anywhere. They can do it on any computer. Okay, so they log into the site and they're going to be presented with this main screen. And the main screen, what it really does is help them to get acclimated to our agency. They can see, oh, here's our team, and also they can get a special message from our general manager, and then it shows our mission statement, our vision, our core values, talks about our agency. It also gives some photographs of the locations, and then there's a little video they can watch, and then we can direct them to our website to get some more information. You can put anything you want on here. So these are just some, you're thinking about what does a new hire want to know about our agency when they're coming on board.
I want to know how Jimmy Fallon got elected.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Fallon
Executive
is our
assistant.
new hire example. So then you can also set up a checklist because there's like Scott mentioned, there's a lot of forms you want them to look at, or rules, steps they want to take, that they need to take. So you have these steps over here. And for instance, everyone has to fill out an I-9 form. So you can do that electronically. You just click on this step and it brings up the form, you fill it out, and you can even sign it electronically. So that saves some time. That way we can get that all ready to go on the first day. And then also, you might have them reference a document. Let me see here. So, for instance, they have to review policies just to acclimate themselves to our rules and our procedures. So what you're going to do is you're going to look in the document bank. So we're at the top of the screen. You have where's my cursor? You have all the forms, and then you also have a document bank that lists all these different documents that you can put in and that employees can reference. And once they complete a step, they just click on this step, and they mark it complete and save the changes. And then it's going to update this progress bar. So they have all these steps and then there's a progress bar. Another feature is they can look and see, oh, what's our organization look like? They can access an org chart. So it shows their picture after we get them a picture. And then you click this up arrow, it'll show their supervisor. And then you keep going, and it's going to show the entire organization. So you have that feature. So this is useful. Like I said, it's going to help us acclimate new hires to our agency. It's also leveraging technology. It also enables us to have a standardized, transparent process for onboarding. So it's really a beneficial program that we can use. And we're in the process of setting it up, and that's what it looks like. Do you have any questions?
How much does it cost?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
That's the whole thing.
It's $2,000 a year.
Well, we went through a pretty extensive succession planning process where we were gathering data to transmit to future employees. So,
Oh yeah, knowledge
that's
transfer.
Yeah, knowledge transfer program should be a criteria. Do they have to sign off that they've read the operations code?
Yes, we can. Yes, we have our
Yes,
document
yeah, I
enough
think
to do
you
that.
know, make them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Orange County Industries. We had training programs, and they had to
Right.
sign off that they'd at least seen something
Exactly.
and read it.
So they can't come back and say, I didn't know. So yes.
Well, I mean, they can come back and say that. But
Yeah. Yes, they can.
they will. But it'll slow them down.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like, and then it also just takes you to this dashboard. The dashboard is typically where you're going to end up, and it lists all the steps that you need to take, the due dates, you know, whether or not you have to do an action or not. Like, if you hover over this, it will say complete a form, or I don't know what the update. So this is what it looks like, and this is what we're working on. So we're trying to get this all dialed in because we have some new hires coming on board. We have a maintenance assistant and the permit tech coming on board. The goal is to pilot it with those two positions.
Now, will you get all the employees dialed into that, or, you know, for the record?
Yeah, we can do that as far as training.
Existing employees?
Existing employees. I don't know if there's any value to that.
Well, could
Yeah,
it
I
be used
think
for
that's
like
good.
tracking of training programs?
Yeah.
We use Target
We use a
Solutions.
different, we use a different,
We use a target solution
Yeah,
for
for the
that.
rest of our man, we're using Target Solutions. We can give a demonstration on that next month if you want us to, but we track that at Target Solutions. This is really intent for all new employees.
Because we don't log them into our system and our software until they're actually here. But the huge benefit is, being a new hire, is, you know, I sat with Anna and we went through a book that was like this.
I-
You know, it's like,
I agree.
okay, you know, there was so much information and you're supposed to go read it later while you're learning your new job. This way you can do it
Well,
on your own time and your own.
The type of people, the age of the people we're gonna be hiring, sitting reading a book makes no sense whatsoever. This is relevant to what their mindset is, and I think we're way ahead of the curve when you get them. I mean, I know what it takes for me to hire an employee and put them through training and stuff. It's cost way more than $2,000, I'll tell you that. So this looks like a pretty above the curve system as far as I'm concerned.
Orange County Stan use this system currently?
No. We've always used NeoGov as our hiring, and so this is just an added module that was purchased this year. We use Target Solutions for our training of existing employees.
Yeah.
And then in our new Springbrook software, we've bought a HR Lite module, which will allow employees to go in and get their own W-2s and get some information. So we're really going paperless and automated, and it facilitates the employee doing it at their preferred time as opposed to us having to hand out, okay, everyone needs a new, W-2.
Will this be the only way to apply for a job?
It is right now.
They wouldn't be able to
That's
come in?
currently our process. We use the NeoGov module for recruitment and selection, and yes, that's the only way people can apply for our jobs now. And that's pretty standard industry right now. Yeah.
So do you think the cost is worth $2,000 a year? Wendy has a financial analyzer.
Yeah, I thought it was a good program. I found the money for it when Denise asked for it and presented it. I thought it was something that was beneficial. I think that, we've had a lot of turnover in the last couple of years, and so this would have been handy because we've, spent a lot of money on training and updating information. And so I think this makes it online as opposed to a paper document that might be obsolete.
Is this going to the board meeting this month for discussion and approval?
This is, it's under $2,000 under my authority to approve. It's just, just again, it goes to our core values of our strategic plan of technology, and so I just want to demonstrate, hey, this is what we believe in, and so we're moving
So
forward.
we're on board now.
Yes.
Yeah, again, I think for the people, younger people that are
No, I
getting
agree.
involved,
We
this could help some older people.
Bob and I are pretty fluent in
Well, it can certainly help existing employees as well because you're organizing all the information about employment. And so we can keep all that information in a centralized location for even our existing employees to access easily.
Does this replace or not replace, does this help with like employee, we used to call them shields or files or whatever, I don't know whether, does this go into like their employee shield or file or?
Yeah, you can manage all the information that they're, all the forms that they're filling out in this program are all manageable on here.
Okay.
So you don't have to put it in a personnel file, it's all in this system. And we can run reports on it and.
You could do disciplinary actions, you could do, and not that we would ever need to on any
Well,
employees, but.
it's a good point you bring up that they do also have another module that's a performance management module.
And I could not find enough money for that.
That
We'll
one
have
is,
to wait.
That may be something we want to look at
it's about
down the line.
4,000 is what they're quoting, but I think we can negotiate with them. And since we're a smaller agency and we already have modules in place, if that's something we want to do.
I think it's something we can talk about.
One of the things that I wanted to do was wait until we got our new software with our new modules in and see what they offered to us because they're all integrated with our finance and payroll. And so this was a service that we didn't currently offer because it was to the people we were looking to employ. So it was a nice fit for us. Whereas the other module may end up being something beneficial, but we wanted just to wait until we knew.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing, professional thing that smaller agencies who don't have extensive HR staff need.
Yeah.
And this is a substitute for having the 8, 10, 12 people Orange County Penn District has in their HR staff. And we have very few.
Good job. Okay, for future session items, I hate to do this to all of you, but I had a visitor in my office a couple weeks ago who says that the sanitary district needs to go on the forefront on, recirculating pumps to their water heaters.
I thought that really,
Worthington?
Yeah.
probably not a bad idea. but-
Well, remember that presentation that he came in, and I told him I'm not interested. I mean, I think the water district is where he should be going with this thing, but he felt that the sanitary district should take the lead in talking people into putting these things in.
Just looking at some of it.
So,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, I think it's a good
Well,
idea, but not for us.
Well,
I think it's a great idea, but not
I've
for
got
us.
one of those tankless water heaters.
Instant hot. That's what I told him that they had to go after.
And I need something like that. I mean, because it takes forever.
I know, I thought
There
his
you go.
presentation was pretty informative. you know.
I installed one of those in my house myself. It's awesome.
Would you come to my house?
No.
So when you turn your shower on, you have hot water right now.
Well, the way I had a single-story house that was 2,600 square feet, and the water heater was at the very front of the garage, and my master bath was at the very back of the house,
Yeah, I
and
get
it
a
took
two-story.
forever. So you install this on the pipe, and then you just push a button before you get in the shower, and so it starts forcing the cold water back to the water heater. So the hot, it was really easy to do, and I thought it was great for that. My house I have now has an automatic recirculator, but I did it at home myself, and pushing a button's no big deal. You know, when you want to use it for the furthest bathroom.
I can't forget to get a towel half the time. Push a button. Okay, anyway, that's all. And then the other thing, at the Waco meeting last week, I picked up one of these, the Orange County Water Summit flyers. I've been to one or two of these. These are really good.
Yeah, they are.
So I need to check my calendar, but I may ask you to enroll me. It's at the Disneyland Hotel on May 15th. I think in our environment, even though we're wastewater right now, I think that the information that comes out of here is really, really good.
Don't forget that's Lions Convention.
Is that the Thursday?
Oh, it's Monday. No, I'm in
It's
the
the
wrong
14,
month.
15, 16,
Well, I'm not going to the whole convention.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
That's a Friday.
Okay.
Oh, a couple of items.
Yes, sir.
Well, I asked you to do the pilot program on trash containers. Oh, wait.
In the
No,
alleys.
an update on where we're at with pilot trash containers and alleys program.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think we ought to also, there's been a lot of data on water usage because of the drought, water usage for plants. I think there's also information that we ought to be posting on water savings for recycling cans or bottles or paper or what, you know, there's also data on that, and that wasn't in that list, the LA Times, some 50 items, how much water a beef needs, how much water a tomato needs, how much water whatever needs. But I think water usage, there's quite a lot of water savings when you recirculate aluminum cans and whatnot. And then I think also, you know, we've been getting a little attention with Beaver's article. I'd like to see staff and or the board be proactive in getting out and contacting the HOAs and the residents that our future project may impact the abandonment project. They're all working on data that is the Orange County Sand District information, which is a 2-year project. We haven't determined how long our project is, but the environmentalists aren't shy about going to the HOA and saying, you know, they're going to screw you up for the next 2 years. Well, maybe 2 weeks. Like Rob said, we had a meeting in 2 weeks. There's a vast difference. But we probably won't know what that project is entirely for a little while. You know, I'd like to know the schedule on when we will have a project and when it'll be designed and potentially built. But I think we ought to get out ahead of the curve. I talked to Lynn Redmond. He's the one that's given Beaver data. He used to work for me. I won't say what I would like to say, but he doesn't quite know what he's talking about. That's all I'm saying. We have an Iowa expression that's much more appropriate. Right? So, we can either wait and have the public try to screw us over, or then come to meetings here and get some information, or we can get out ahead of the curve. There's not that many
Well,
HOAs.
there's only probably gonna be one or two.
Well, yeah, there are a few down there.
There's a couple down there.
But so there's 10. I mean, where one of us or one of the staff could go to a board meeting and say, you know, this is what we envision the project to be. This is,
I just say send them a letter, you know, I mean.
or invite us.
Sure, have them, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be like.
In the letter, you could say, come on down and.
Some of them are
talk
very
about it."
apathetic. Beaver's problem was, and one of the reasons he got elected was, when they did the Victoria Street expansion, they lost 15 parking spaces. The project as envisioned by the public, if they read the pilot, is we're gonna, go down canyon with a 35-foot deep trench. Well, that's probably not what we're gonna do. That's what they think is gonna happen right now. So he's very concerned. That's the reason he wrote the article.
Well, on that same subject, and one of the last things I was gonna say is, Scott and I talked about responding to Eric, and originally it was gonna go out under my name, but I think having it go under Scott's name depoliticized it, and it was extremely well written, first of all. I think what you presented addressed everything that Beaver neglected. And I think the true measure of it is, when you read the Daily Pilot and the articles are in there, people will read the article, then when you read the comments that are down below, there were all kinds of comments about Beaver. With you, there were 2 comments. One from Jeff West, who congratulated you on what you said, and from the Nature Commission, which we're gonna, and oddly enough, when you read the comment by Kevin, the Nature Commission, he admitted the need for the project. He says, they understand that we need to do this, but we're still disrupting a natural environment. Okay, so where do you trade off? But anyway, Scott, I just wanted to, it was very, very well written, and I think it more than addressed what Eric had to say.
Plus, we gotta thank Jeff West for including it in the.
Yeah, because they did cut out a very important paragraph.
Cut out that piece of yours.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And they corrected it.
They
so,
did, yeah,
anyway.
after reading Jeff West's blog.
After reading Jeff's blog.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for
You bet.
taking the burden on that. Okay, anything else?
Are we gonna do that? Anything
Yeah.
else? Okay. I just wanted to tell you that on this World Games that I'm representing the city on, involved, they're having, and I could pass this around if you want, as long as I get it back. It's tomorrow. They're having a special guest and a host town program, Special Olympics, Wednesday, April 15th. And we're also selling these for the Leo's Club and for actually Lions.
For Special Olympics?
It's Special Olympics. It's $5, and it's got different decals on it. So anyway, if anyone's interested, I am going to it naturally, and it's a host town project.
I feel like we'll recycle a bunch of cans and bottles tomorrow, so I can pay my taxes tomorrow.
You must have so much.
Oh, yeah.
You think it's garage?
Yeah.
It's got a lot of cans.
That must be it then, huh?
Okay, that's it. Okay, good job.
Thanks. Then we'll adjourn this.
Good job.
Thanks, bud.
I read the agenda, that's what you